shouldn't call this profit, right? This should be target revenues, right? Revenue. Revenue is a word that means how much total money do you earn, right? Our target revenue this year is $2 billion. That's a great target. If we earn $2 billion this year, right, that means our profit will be how much? Minsu, how much will our profit be? If we earn
5 billion.
How much?
5 billion.
No, well,
5 million.
now look at the number. This is $2 billion, right? And this is 1.5 billion. So if we earn $2 billion, right? And if we're going to spend $1.5 billion, what's our profit?
0.1 billion.
Exactly. $0.5 billion or $500 million. That's our target profit. Equals to 500 million. MM is generally how you write million, right? Right? This is how much profit we want to make. So let's think about this a little bit more then. So this is great, right? Now, we know how much money we're going to, spend in 2012, and we know how much money we want to earn, and we have one product, right? So what do you guys think? How can we figure out how much to spend on this? Well, how can we figure out what the price per item should be? We're almost there. Pedro, what do you think? Pedro and Shin, for both of you guys, what do you think?
By dividing how much, divide?
You're getting there. You're getting there.
How much it costs each?
Yeah, so we need to think of some target prices, right? So what are some target prices? If you want to earn $2 billion, right? Break out your calculators if you have them. If you want to earn $2 billion, you only have one product, right? Then what are prices that we can sell that at?
So,
But
yeah,
depends on how much because
just calculate
per
per price.
per
unit
price.
So okay, so
But depends too because we
well,
could.
let me
It depends on how many we're making because we cannot charge them more or less.
Okay, so let me help you guys out, okay? So let's say the cost of making just the cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
This 1.5 cost of each jacket. This is something that's going to help, right? Let's assume that the cost is $100. That's the cost of making each jacket. Everything that we talked about, right? So everything that we talked about, this $1.5 billion, the cost of making each jacket, the total cost, right? So if you know that this is the cost, right? To make a profit on each jacket, so would you have to spend more? Would you have to charge more or less than this if you want to make a profit?
More.
Right? Exactly. So now we have to figure out, okay, so what's a good price to charge if we want to get to this? So if we know the cost of each jacket, how much it costs us to make it, right? And we know how much money we spend. Just to break even, right? Just to earn $1.5 billion, how many will we have to sell? To make $1.5 billion, how much will we have to sell?
50.
You can use your phones if you want to use calculators. I don't know, so I'm asking you guys.
So we have to divide 2 million, right? Divided by 100.
Yeah. Well, no, but that wouldn't make sense, right? Because you wouldn't be making money.
Look, I mean, because you said to break, we don't have to break even.
So what I'm saying is, right? If you break even, right, you're making as much money as you earn. You're making as much money as you spend, right? I guess let me phrase this a little bit differently. So what I'm saying is that so here's the thing, right? Help me out for a second. What's 1.5 billion divided by 100?
So it's the bulk can be made.
Yeah, exactly. So we should have probably started with this differently, right? I probably should have started from here, but we'll get to the same result. What's 1.5 billion divided by 100?
50 million.
15 million, right? So basically, we made 15 million jackets, right? And the total cost of making 15 million was this, 1.5 billion. And in that cost, right, in this 100 million, in this $100 per jacket, right, you have everything, right? You have your transportation, you have the salaries of the people who work in the offices, right? All of that money put together. Because technically all of that, for instance, Shin, you work in the accounting department of a company that creates clothes, right? But no matter what company you work for, the people who work for Apple, right? The cost of one iPhone, or the cost of any Apple product, right? Part of that cost is also the salaries of the people that work there, all the transportation, all the things that we talked about goes into this $100, right? So to make 15 million jackets, we had to spend $1.5 billion in total, right? That means that per jacket, we spent $100, right? So then to arrive at $2 billion in total revenues, how many jackets will we need to sell? All the numbers that you need are here. Sorry, to arrive at 2 billion, sorry. How much would we need to, sorry, how much would you need to sell them for to arrive at $2 billion?
Probably $150.
Well, do the math. You guys have calculators, right?
Go.
Dude,
I don't-
mine's only reached to millions.
You can.
My calculator only reached
You
to
can
millions. I
start
know.
from yeah.
I know, I'm using it.
I probably should have made this like 150 million or something.
Yeah.
I'll do that like next time or something like that. I'll make it easier for you guys. So what are you dividing by, right? Someone tell me, what's the concept? What do we divide by what? Minsu. To find out the cost that we want to charge per jacket to arrive at $2 billion. How do we arrive at that? It's pretty easy. Minsu and Shinsuke, how do we arrive at that?
So the target again is 2 billion.
Yeah.
So we want to make 15 million jackets. So
Yeah.
if we how about it? What's in English? Divide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
we
need to
If we divide it,
So
then
we
we can.
divide 2 billion,
Divided by
15
million.
million, right?
And we know the target was.
You get like 135.
So basically,
Get this.
what this means is 135, right? What this means is that that's how much we would need to sell it at $135 per jacket to arrive at our target of $2 billion. But this is just looking at it one way, right? This is just looking at it and saying that, okay, we want to, this is how much money this is how much money that it costs to create this, right? And just looking at our cost, this is how much we would need to sell it at, right? But that's not all, right? So that's just one, remember we talked about perspective, right? That's just one perspective, cost, right? When you're thinking about putting a price tag on something that we created, let's say this is our company, what's something else we should be thinking about?
I have one more question.
Sure, what's up?
Before the $100 from all the costs, that would be only for making it, like, would include all the labor costs?
It would include
everything, even
everything.
the rent from the
Everything?
I'm talking about the rent about like the storage, the rent.
Everything.
Oh, everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Accounting in companies track everything.
Ad and then marketing.
Yeah. Basically what we're saying is how much money have we spent in creating these 15 million jackets, right? And we're taking that total money, right? Everything, the salaries of the people that work in the offices, the rent for the offices, the taxes that you have to pay, the utilities to keep the lights on. All of that, all of those expenses are tracked. And we keep records of this, right? Which is why accountants are really, really important people in offices, right? So you keep track of all that. And that's what tells you how much money do we have to earn to make a profit, right? So now, but that's just, right now we're just looking at costs, right? But if we're smart, right? What else should we be thinking about?
Location?
Well, not location, I'm trying to think about like, well, location is one thing, but your locations are already set, right? You know where your stores are. We might have a store on Fifth Avenue, we might have a store in Columbus Circle, right? Those locations are already set, right? But what else should we be thinking about?
You have to consider seasonal.
Yeah, so that's important as well, like when you're doing sales and things like that. So that's important. So over the course of the year, right, you can't sell it at one price. You have to offer sales and stuff like that. But what happens with sales is that, you know, the demand, right? Remember the demand for your jackets might go up. They might say that, okay, you know, our company's, let's call our company Axion for some reason. Axion's jackets are 20% off, so people might want more. If they place more orders, we can just create more at $100 and sell it for 110, 115, right? Because the loss in profits per unit, right? It's made up for. Why? Because we're selling more, right? Because people want more of it. So that's one thing. Seasons is really important. But here's another thing, right? Are we the only ones who sell coats? Are we the only ones who sell coats or clothes? Think about it. Akio-san.
Competitors.
Exactly. Good. Competition. Price and where you fit in is a really, really important point. We can say that if we want to reach $2 billion, right, we should be at 135. But it's actually more important to know how much does it cost me? You don't have to worry about what our target is. Because if there's a lot of competitors who are pricing at 140, right, or 130, it kind of doesn't make sense. It almost doesn't make sense to price it over here because not only are people comparing the texture, the color, the feel, but they're also saying, well, this costs basically the same, right? What's one of the smartest things that Uniqlo did? Their costing. It's pretty high quality stuff, right? It's pretty good quality, but the prices, right? Against H&M and stuff, their pricing is so much better. That's what people keep going to, like Uniqlo. Like you walk into a store, you spend $100 and you buy like 3, 4, 5 items, right? And that's something that really helps them. Whereas H&M's a little bit more expensive, right? And it's also not as fashionable as Uniqlo. People don't really think it's as fashionable. So we're not going to worry about fashion too much, right? Because that's something that changes every year. And that's why every year we're assuming that we might come out with the same jacket because that's the only thing we sell. But we might come out with different colors. We might come out with different patterns and things like that. But the most important figure is this. What is the least amount of money that we have to make a profit, right? And we might say, okay, we're never going to go below $110, right? We're never going to go below. We want to make at least 10% profit, right? But if everyone's over here, maybe if everyone's in this range, I know this sounds crazy, right? But it might even be worth it to sell it at 175. Right? Why might that make sense?